The Collectors, Mammoth. Back when I was young, human and naive, I believed in love. At the time, of course, I didn't know the word. He was my partner in hunting and in life, my friend and companion. He didn't have a name, but I have posthumously dubbed him Kai. He would have liked that name. Kai and I grew up in the same community. Our mothers were friends, our fathers respected each other, and we did everything together. Back then, nobody cared about who you kissed or held hands with, or more. Human minds had yet to be tainted by all that cis-heteronormative, patriarchal nonsense, so we could walk about holding hands freely without a word spoken against us. We kissed in the open. But still, those secret kisses between just us whilst we were out hunting for our community were the best ones. Getting him on his own, seeing his cheeky smile, his messy hair filled with twigs and leaves, the dirt that covered his bare chest. I remember Kai so clearly, and seeing him now, well, it turns out I never lost my heart after all. On this particular day, the day that changed both of our lives forever, Kai, myself, and a few others had been tasked with hunting dinner. On the menu was some nice juicy mammoth, my favourite food. There was one mammoth that I'd had my eye on for quite some time. It had taunted me with its presence, always just out of reach of my spear. I set myself the task of luring the beast to the base of a nearby cliff. The others waited at the top with their spears at the ready. Kai was amongst them. I found the mammoth in the midst of a nice graze, snuck up behind it, and for once successfully placed the tip of my spear to its rear, startling it and causing it to charge right towards our trap. The whole time I chased the beast, dancing, waving my spear in the air, making loud noises of excitement, scaring it even more. When I got to the base of the cliff, I looked up to my fellow hunters who readied their spears. They threw them down at the same time, and most struck the beast in the back. The only spear that didn't was Kai's. He'd waited so long for this moment, and he'd missed. To top it off, the only one who missed. I could feel his disappointment and anger from all the way below. As I was readying the mammoth, waiting for the hunters to come down, I heard screaming coming from atop the cliff. I looked up to see another larger red mammoth charging at the hunters. I wasted no time in rushing up there to help. The mammoth was a lot more intimidating than the beast we just killed, and far angrier. It had killed 3 of us already by the time I got there, and Kai was nowhere to be seen. I hurried the survivors behind a nearby bush and asked where Kai was, through body language. At the time, I didn't understand what their response was. They seemed to just be pointing at the mammoth, implying that Kai had been trampled, which I knew couldn't be the case, as his body was nowhere to be seen. The beast took no time to find us. It charged right over to our bush, its tusks forcing themselves through the brambles, impaling one of my friends on the other side. It was then that I got a good look at the beast in all its glory, and I wasn't sure how it was possible, but when I looked into its eyes, I knew it was my Kai. He seemed to recognize me too, because he paused and reached his trunk out to me. I stroked it with tear-filled eyes. How could he have become a mammoth? There had been stories around the camp of men that could turn into beasts. These stories still continue to this day, but that was the first time I'd ever witnessed it firsthand, and I wasn't scared. I was intrigued, fascinated by it. The spear took me by surprise just as much as it did Mammoth Kai. He disintegrated in my hand, no, literally in my hand. His essence turned into a bright red powder and sank into my skin, dyeing it red. His tusks forced themselves out of my skull, becoming horns, and I felt the thick fur growing all over my body. His love for me had intertwined him with my very soul. The others were scared of me now and threatened me with their spears, but I now possessed the strength of a beast and easily tore them away from them, snapping off the heads, and watched as they fled. Knowing I was no longer safe with my community, I retreated to a faraway cave. No food and no light. I embraced the darkness inside like an old friend, and it presented me with a giant metallic sphere. I had no idea what it was, but I accepted its call. My whole life, past and future, flashed before my eyes, and the Prince of Darkness himself, the man my image was based on, offered me his hand. From that moment on, I became his avatar, and was tasked to care for the remnants of his universe, which lay in ruins beneath ours. The shadows welcomed me as their ruler, and I'd never felt more comfortable or at home. Before my lord left, he told me everything. How Kai had become the first ever archetype, and I the first ever collector. My physical image may have changed, so had my role in the universe. But I also possessed something else, a gift from the Prince of Darkness, the power to create new collectors, the power to create an army that would put an end to all archetypes, and the best part was, I was gifted forever to do it.